Steve and Joyce represent a beautiful, dynamic team.
Well, honestly, they are the cutest couple ever. Loved seeing them together, and they very much balance each other out.
Always great to be around. They brought a certain dynamic feeling to all of the things they were involved in.
And together they just made a lovely couple. Just a lovely couple.
They have incredible accomplishments in business and community, education reform and school choice, leadership development, public policy, civic engagement, and on contributions over 60 years of a state that's only 150 some years old. I mean, think of that kind of longevity.
We both took the approach that being an American citizen is not a spectator sport. It requires effort and work. You're just not along for the ride. There's nothing I've done in life that's more satisfying than to give to others. I am accustomed to being challenged, taking on things in which I'm not comfortable. High risk, high return. You get paid for your productivity, not for time and grade. We've lost our house twice. So one day we were living as well as one could, and virtually the next day we were moving into a rental house. And to me, it's just another day at the office.
Joyce complimented Steve. So Steve was hardcore, do it like this, and Joyce would smooth it out.
And she knew that market principles should govern, should prevail, and she was a warrior for those topics. I got to see it firsthand.
She always kept him sort of pointed in a direction that made sure that family was at the forefront of what they did, along with opportunity and community.
A person with grace and class. I can't always accuse Steve of that.
Steve and Joyce Schuck started Parents Challenge 21 years ago to support low-income families around their educational choice. And we are the only program of this nature in the country that supports all choice, private, public, charter, homeschool.
But Steve was always passionate and committed to the principle of parental choice, and because he knew it was a stairway to success for low-income people. And he put all of his energy, his resources, his political connections, not to promote Steve Schuck.
Their leadership inspired a whole generation of families to fight for themselves, fight for their students, think of education in a consumer way, not here's the product, you just have to take it. He wanted us to help them learn how to advocate for themselves.
Whenever I think of Steve, I know he was a successful businessman, but that's not what he talks about. But it's what's happening to vulnerable children and families who just want freedom.
First thing I realized when I started studying K-12 was how constant and consistent was the level of failure. It was mind-boggling. I became almost fanatical overnight because the solution was so simple and so clear. Take the dollars that are allocated to each child that are given to the system, given to the provider, take those dollars and give them to the consumer who can then shop. And as a result of their being able to shop and compare, we create a marketplace. Help people help themselves. I do not want them dependent on us.
The first instinct, often at times like these, is to look at the charitable and philanthropic impact that an individual, or in this case a couple, has had on the state. So yeah, Parents Challenge, policy efforts and leadership towards school choice, other community activities that support and empower the impoverished, those are great things, but it is the business acumen and the prowess in the arena of capitalism that allows all of those great things to take place.
They turned millions of dollars of dirt into billions of dollars of commercial and residential assets.
Homes, houses, jobs, commerce, activity within a community. That, frankly, is the biggest contribution the Schucks have made.
The whole idea of LPR and advancing the principles of smaller government and open markets and free enterprise is under siege and attack every single day. The only way it's going to be there for our kids and our grandkids and our great-grandkids is for warriors like those who are part of the LPR extended family to take on that battle. Godspeed in your important and good work.
Congratulations, Steve Schuck, on receiving the Legacy Award. You deserve it.
Congratulations, Steve. An honor well earned.
I sure miss Joyce, and I miss the partnership that you two have represented over the years.
And thank you for all that you do for the community and as well for myself.
Just want to offer my sincere gratitude.
And Joyce, I just want to say, we all miss you.
A great effort through the years by both of you.
Shari told me I have 5 minutes, and that's not enough time to roast Steve, but just enough time for all the positive complimentary stuff. Steve said, I became fanatical about school choice overnight because the solution was so simple. 23 years ago, Steve was leading the charge for a Colorado voucher initiative to allow low-income children the opportunity to access private and faith-based schools. I called him and introduced myself, hoping to get involved somehow. Steve drove up to my office in Denver to look me in the eye and see if I was serious and truly aligned with the cause. Steve explained his mission and what he was up against. I encountered a few swear words and a ton of drive. And I made an intense new friend that day. Critics of vouchers claimed that there wouldn't be enough money in this voucher in Colorado to pay for everyone who would want one. Apparently, the critics were just as convinced as we that the schools are crappy and lots of families want it out. Of course, our friend Howard Fuller would say, that's the same thing as telling me while walking by a burning house that if I can't rescue all the kids, I can't rescue any of them. But Steve came up with the idea of forming a group of business people who announced their intent to provide supplemental private scholarship dollars as a way of showing further support for parental choice options. The voucher initiative failed to pass against the usual unprincipled distortions and onslaught of lies and union-funded campaigns. As a direct result, hundreds of thousands of Colorado school children were thereby relegated to failed schools, poverty, and all too often incarceration. I think about that moment in Colorado and other similar moments across the country. There is a direct line between the squelching of those opportunities to which Steve and Joyce have devoted so much of their lives and today's racial tensions. Because the past legacy of racism and discrimination was cemented in many places by the continued effective redlining that defines America's urban public schools. The hope that we do have comes from those kids that Steve and Joyce were successful in fighting for. Go to a faith-based inner-city school and you'll find children who understand that America is a great and wonderful country because of its founding principles and not despite them. So Steve would not give up this all-important fight. He delivered on his promise in Colorado Springs to provide private support for scholarships beyond whatever the government would fund. It was Steve's vision that kids needed help to attend quality private schools in Colorado that led ultimately both to ACE from Denver and Parents Challenge from here, both now national organizations. He said, just because the government won't do its job, I will still do what the hell I can. That is the hallmark of an entrepreneur. I love a particular definition of entrepreneur. It's one who pursues opportunity, regardless of the resources actually in hand. That does mean you can lose a house or two, but you can build things anyway, just like Parents Challenge. Steve and I served together on the board of Alliance for School Choice with John Walton, Betsy DeVos, Howard Fuller, and yes, Senator Cory Booker. It's one of the sad comments in our times that a one-time true believer, fellow traveler of ours like Cory Spartacus Booker, left the fighting ring for vouchers when his voice was most needed to be heard. You would never in a million years find Steve backing off that fight, or any fight, especially if he was running for president. You want to hear Steve get passionate? Ask him why those so-called social justice warriors would tear America apart to make amends for past discrimination that would also dismantle what Bob Whitson called the stairway to success for low-income children. The energy and enthusiasm I've personally witnessed in the school choice arena was a hallmark of Steve and Joyce's incredible contributions to the many other organizations they cared about. And that in turn is only exceeded by his and Joyce's devotion to each other and to their family. I give you Steve Schuck, a plain-spoken risk taker, an entrepreneur, and not a spectator, and his two passions, business and helping others.
Thank you very, very much. And, many of you may not know, but Alex lives in Florida now, and he came up for this event especially, and I am extremely grateful, and I think everybody associated with LPR should be very, very appreciative of the leadership that Alex has given over the years, and thank you very much for coming. Alex is in the oil business, and until change of administration, he could afford a tie. Alex, thank you for those much appreciated comments. I'm sorry my mother is not here to correct you. Alex, you make me feel like Elizabeth Taylor's fifth husband. I know what I'm supposed to do, but I'm not sure I can make it interesting. I'll do my best. Let me start by stipulating the obvious, so neither Bob nor Sherry has to do it. Yes, Joyce has always been the star in this act. My role has been to be her straight man and to play a supporting role, especially in her most impressive and important independent production, that being our family, our kids, grandkids, and great-grandchildren. Here tonight, I appreciate their being here. Our sons Bill and his wife Dee Dee, son Tom and his wife Christine, daughter Ann, granddaughter Gabrielle, granddaughter Hillary. Missing in action are 6 other grands and 5 soon-to-be 7 greats. Yeah. Thank you, Joyce. In addition, let me thank everyone who's been a part of our company over the past 50-plus years. They helped make our journey possible. And a special thanks to a very special friend, Steve Everson, who's put up with me for 40 years. As many of you know, Joyce wrote a book about political wives. She quickly learned that politicians are like diapers. They need to be changed often and for the same reason. Sorry, Tim. Sorry, Trey. This honor is a tribute to so many caring people who taught us how to best serve, how to best take advantage of the gifts and good fortune that have been our blessings. Joyce and I have just been proxies. Like you, we have been given the means, the voice to empower those who have neither. Bob Whidson calls you and us pharaohs, whose role it is to use our own power, be it in the form of money, political access, community leverage, or just real-world experience to empower others less fortunate than we. What has motivated Joyce and me for decades, and still does, is the opportunity we have had to empower the unempowered, those who are committed to helping themselves, doing so by providing them with tools, support, access, whatever it takes to become independent and self-sufficient, ultimately independent of us and of others, to become self-reliant, to enjoy the true inner satisfaction that best comes from taking responsibility for oneself and one's family. The most satisfying gift Joyce and I ever received was to find ourselves in position to truly help others, not with just charity that checked off a few boxes, but rather by providing them the means to help them pursue and fulfill their dreams, to take control of their own lives and futures so that they could feel good about themselves. We have always tried to make it about them, not about us. And that's what school choice is all about. And that is why Joyce and I dedicated so much of ourselves to it. While school choice is focused on making quality education available to all kids, not just those with means, what inspired Joyce and me most was, and continues to be, the concept, as stated earlier, of empowering the unempowered by taking power and control away from faceless, unaccountable, unresponsive bureaucrats, removing barriers that should never have existed in the first place. Those bureaucrats know 100 ways to make love, but they don't know any women. Explain that to Richard. It is past time to disempower the monopoly that lacks incentives to generate results, which it doesn't, that lacks incentives to be truly student learning focused, which it isn't, and giving that power and control to parents, particularly those in low economic circumstances, to those who know what is best for their children. Bill Bennett called it the blob. That blob does not benefit from classroom success, nor suffer from classroom failure. It is totally insulated from competition, from market forces, from consequences. It is protected for the most part from its dissatisfied customers, especially those who lack the resources to choose other alternatives. Public schools have become employment centers for adults, not learning centers for children. When is the last time you heard a teachers' union spokesperson prioritize the interest of the children its members are supposed to teach, its customers? Certainly precious little since the pandemic began, and about what is best for students. Who of you could survive in your own professional life if you treated those you're supposed to serve so poorly? This is a David-Goliath battle, and we are proud to be on David's side. More importantly, we are proud to be on America's side in this effort to make America's promise truly accessible to all children. These children deserve better, and so does America. Those very principles of liberty, accountability, free markets, empowerment of the individual, and small government that are the bedrock of LPR, that are embodied in school choice through educational freedom, also apply more universally. Think about other activities in which government is currently in control, like housing and health care, predictably generating results almost as bad as those in education. How much more exciting, more responsive, and more cost-effective would it be if funding and decision-making were in the hands of and under the control of individuals rather than an unaccountable, heavy-handed, ever-expanding, self-aggrandizing, know-it-all government. How inspiring would it be if those we are trying to help were treated with respect and dignity, empowered to make their own decisions rather than being infantilized by elites who think they know best. While Joyce had all this figured out, it took some very powerful, very understanding, and very patient mentors to help me fully understand. So please indulge me for a moment while I give credit to those who truly deserve medals of valor for taking on Mission Impossible. Bill Daniels. Bill Daniels made it unambiguously clear through his own life, his actions, and our close friendship that character and integrity transcend all else. He lived and truly exemplified Senator Alan Simpson's quote that, quote, "If you have integrity, nothing else matters. If you don't have integrity, nothing else matters." Thank you. Bill's influence on me was more profound than my words can describe. Bob Cote taught me that if one truly wants to help others in distress, help them help themselves. Enabling them to continue self-destructive behavior may make you feel and look good, but the focus should be on what is truly best for them, not you. It was Bob who, over 35 years ago, coined the phrase, "a hand up, not a handout," currently my North Star. David Horowitz. David's life exemplifies the heroism of a man of principle who pays the price, who sacrifices every day in his unrelenting, uncompromising, courageous battle to protect what is so precious and so special about America. Sacrifice and eternal vigilance are his legacy and his lesson. Bob Whitson's powerful, sensible message continues to be to empower those who are closest to the problem being addressed, grassroots leaders in the community they want to help. Treat them and those they are helping with dignity, respect, and expectations. A brave, fearless warrior enduring shameless, vicious attacks, all the while continuing to champion truth and honesty about race and the value of self-help, all the time rejecting victimization. An extraordinary man. And so, if we are to accept this honor, it is on the condition that we do so on behalf of two groups of heroes. First, on behalf of all the parents we have been privileged to serve. They are the ones who have toiled, prayed, and sacrificed, determined to give their children better lives, and so it is they who should be celebrated. It is also on behalf of those who support this noble mission, privately and publicly, who do so knowing that there are problems, but respecting their fellow citizens enough to empower them while not insulting their dignity. If tonight is about parents who will do anything to help their children, and givers who want to empower, never manipulating nor condescending, then we gratefully accept. In conclusion, the moment you've been anxiously awaiting, let me congratulate you for being a part of this incredible program. Bob, Shari, and their team are truly changing the world. But a very special and heartfelt thanks directly to Shari and her husband Bob, who she shares with us all so generously, for her vision and dedication to the preservation of freedom and to protecting America's destiny. We all owe her our deepest gratitude, support, and commitment to action. Lastly, you have been empowered. It is time to put what you have learned and experienced to work. Be a candidate, drive an issue, support those who do. Be a servant leader. You know that our country's founding principles are under siege. This is neither the first nor last such attack. We have survived and overcome such attacks in the past, but only when leaders like you come off the sidelines, out of the bleachers, get on the field, play offense, not defense, and actually lead. LPR exists to help leaders like you lead. You are why LPR exists. LPR has done its job. Now it is time for the rest of us to do ours. As Ronald Reagan said, we have a rendezvous with destiny. If not us, who? If not now, when? With wonderful memories of how special Joyce was, and with deep appreciation to Bill, Tom, and Ann, whose support allowed us to serve others, Joyce and I humbly thank you again for this meaningful recognition and wish you all the very best. God bless America. Thank you.